Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about PlayStation 1 emulation on PC and Android with Duckstation. And yes, Duckstation just got a brand new update. So as if Duckstation couldn't get any better, well, it just got better. We've got bug fixes, performance improvements, and optimizations. And there are a whole bunch of them here. The PC version, including ARM Windows, Linux, and macOS can be found on the GitHub, whereas the APK for the Android version can be found right on the Duckstation website. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. If you've got a Mali GPU, you may want to check out this latest update. There were more Mali driver fixes. And on a side note here, at this point in time, the Google Play Store version of Duckstation is a little bit outdated. It was last updated as of April of this year, whereas the website has a lot more updates. I mean, if you take a look at this small changelog, just from November until now, we've got bug fixes, compatibility improvements, optimizations, performance improvements, new features, and even more. Again, check out that link in the description below. And speaking about bug fixes and improvements, next up here we're talking about Xbox emulation with XEMU. Or XEMU, or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Anyways, here, XEMU just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 0.7.118 is the latest update. We've got a whole bunch of fixes and also some improvements. They now support creating, mounting, and unmounting XEMU images from the input settings menu. XEMU is 100% free, it's open source, and I'll drop a link in the description below. Moving on, and we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android and PC with Yuzu. We talk about Yuzu quite a bit because it's a very active emulator, and they just released their progress report for November. I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It's well written, and we're just going over it at a high level. Now, one of the first things that this report talks about was all of the work that went into getting Super Mario RPG up and running and rendering correctly. I feel that Super Mario RPG was kind of overshadowed by something like Super Mario Wonder. Anyways, here is the before and here is the after, and you can see the big difference even just on how Mario renders. They also talk in detail about Project Nice on Android. Nice is for NCE, which stands for Native Code Execution, or possibly something else. And this results in a massive performance improvement on Android. They say here they adapted Skyline's ability to run code natively on ARM devices, with no recompiler to slow things down. In general, using NCE should net you some extra FPS in a whole bunch of different games. Possibly not all of them, but hopefully a lot of them. For example, here's a graph showing a whole bunch of different games with JIT versus NCE, and this is using a Snapdragon processor with an Adreno GPU. Interestingly enough here, Super Mario 3D World seems to perform the exact same whether using JIT or NCE. And for devices that have a Mali GPU, the less desirable GPU for emulation, like the Google Pixel 7 Pro, well, using NCE results again in a whole bunch of performance improvement. The report goes over some of the nuances for using NCE and also shows where to enable it and disable it. And on top of that, the Android version of Yuzu got a slew of other improvements, including performance improvements and also some brand new features here that are kind of quality of life features, like searching for games that may be located in multiple folders. Now on PC, although Vulkan is arguably the preferred backend, OpenGL receives some love. OpenGL received an 11% performance boost and also some game fixes here, including Xenoblade Chronicles. In addition to all of that, this month they're working on a controller menu applet and a whole bunch of other stuff, including bug fixes and other optimizations. And in the future here, they say to look forward to memory savings, improved load times, and higher performance. The Yuzu development team is on fire. They had a massive month, and I can't wait to see what's next. And speaking about Switch emulation, next up here, we're still talking about Switch emulation. And this time about Switch emulation on Android with Strato. And Easy on the Ice has just posted a brand new video with a non-public version of Strato meant for testing. For those who may not be aware, Strato is the spiritual successor to Skyline. It's using the same base code, and it's the same code that Yuzu for Android referenced to implement NCE. Taking a look at the video here, I am very impressed with how everything is rendering. things are looking real good, especially with Metroid. At this point in time, Strato has not released to the public just yet, but it's getting close. It's getting real close, possibly by the end of 2023, possibly into early 2024. As soon as I know more, you'll know more. And speaking about Nintendo, next up here we're talking about Nintendo and also Pretendo. For those who may not be aware, Pretendo is a free and open source replacement for 3DS and Wii U servers. And as time goes on, Pretendo is going to get more and more important. Trust me on that one. I mean, Nintendo here kind of screwed up a little bit. So if you've got a Wii U and you've got Super Mario Maker and you've been noticing some online issues with it, well, Pretendo might have your answer. They say here some of you may have noticed that Super Mario Maker on Nintendo Network has been throwing a 106-0502 quite a lot lately. The reason for this is it seems to be a configuration issue on Nintendo's side. This error comes from the fact that many, if not most of the servers that Super Mario Maker tries to use are seemingly no longer available. We believe this is due to Nintendo trying to scale things back for the shutdown and made an error. So for Super Mario Maker in specific, they've only been able to identify a single working IP and port combination. All others fail to connect, and they are unsure at this time if this affects other games. They find it unlikely that Nintendo will fix this issue before the shutdown. So at a high level here, yes, you can still play Super Mario Maker online. And yes, it seems as if it's going to be harder to connect to a game. And this is why Pretendo, I think, is so important here, because once those servers go down, you've got nothing, but you may still have Pretendo. If you are curious about Pretendo and you wanted to see their progress, I'll drop a link to their website in the description below, and I do recommend checking them out. As we can see here with Super Mario Maker, they're about 63% of the way, and I would argue this is a pretty big percent. Next up here, we're quickly talking about Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy, the definitive edition on consoles versus mobile. If you weren't aware, Netflix recently released these 3 games on mobile, and well, they seem to be performing all right. I'll drop a link to this video in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. We've got some side-by-side comparisons between the original versus the mobile version. Now, to be specific here, it's not the original version of the game versus the definitive edition. It's the definitive edition on the consoles versus the definitive on mobile. On the right-hand side here is an image captured from an iPhone 15 Max. And on the left-hand side here is an image captured from the PS5. It's weird to say, but I think the mobile version actually looks better. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is a weird one. And speaking about Netflix, next up here we're quickly talking about Netflix and some more games on mobile, or some more games that were on mobile. Apparently here Netflix took down Samurai Showdown and WrestleQuest for no apparent reason. Now, on top of not being available to be downloaded, apparently if you've already got one of these games downloaded and installed, you can't play it. It's unplayable. And this to me presents a much bigger problem of our all-digital future. If a company doesn't want you playing a game, you can't play it. A silver lining here, I guess, is the fact that a lot of people are speculating these games are going to be updated, so they're rendered unplayable while they're updated in the background. I don't know why they'd be taken down though. But moving on, and next up here we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation on Android with Citra, and Citra just got a brand new update. So the very last of the recent Android user interface overhaul has just been implemented here, 404. So there's a small cheats activity rework. They added the home button to the input overlay, which I think a lot of people are going to like. They fixed a layout bug, they shrunk the Citra logo, and they set themselves up to make future improvements to the UI much easier. This update is pretty hot off the press, and if you wanted to check it out, you absolutely can. Head to citra-emu.org and click on download here. And then once you're here, click on manual download and pick up the latest nightly build for Android. At the time of filming, it was 5 hours ago. Next up here, we've got some not great news. We're talking about Max Payne and Alan Wake voice actor James McCaffrey, who just passed away at 65 due to cancer. James was well known for his acting in Viper and Rescue Me, and also for his voice acting in Max Payne as Max Payne, and also Alan Wake as Alex Casey. My condolences go out to James's family, and may he rest in peace. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff, or maybe just one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.